In today's lesson, we're going to share the top 5 most helpful tips for planting grapevines on your property with my friend Brad Fickes of Fickes Horticultural Services, and he's going to share his top 5 helpful tips, which include how to plant it, how to water it, how to fertilize it, whitewashing, and so much more. One of the helpful tips is going to be these grapevines, which are now available at ivorganics.com starting April 1st. Some of them already have fruit on there, and we're going to discuss whether or not you should allow those fruit in the first year and what that cost is going to be if you actually allow it to fruit in year 1. So on April 1st, we published a lesson with Tom Spellman of D.W.N Nursery. He's the leading educator on their YouTube channel, FruitTube, and I'll put the link down below where you can watch hundreds of lessons taught by Tom Spellman. And on April 1st, we published a lesson here at Ivy Organics, and that was the release of these blueberry grapevines that he made available to Ivy Organics. And he shared with us a lot of the characteristics and reasons that you should be introducing these grapevines into your backyard orchards. One of them being is that it grows in so many of the grow zones across the United States. So of about a dozen different varieties of fruits we're looking at introducing from D.W.N Nursery, this one here topped the chart just because of the versatility and just the ability to get into more gardens across America. So Brad, if you can share with the audience a little bit about yourself and your background and expertise that you bring before we get to planting these grapes.
Certainly, thank you, Charles. I began my career when I was in college and studied horticulture and landscape architecture. I've always had a love for horticulture and for plants and how it really improves the lives of people in the community. And so taking that passion, over the years, I've worked in landscape design, landscape installation. I have most recently been working with wholesale nurseries and selling a variety of products. But here in my backyard, this is my playground. This is where I'm able to take different plants of many different varieties and species and grow them here and see how they perform. California, especially Southern California, has probably the ability to encompass or to be able to grow the widest variety of plants out there, from subtropical to even some of the colder zones, maybe with not as much success. So that is my experience, and my horticultural service is more related to landscape projects and to working with palm trees and olive trees and some grasses. But today we want to talk about the blueberry grape. This is a grape that's very similar to a Concord grape, except the benefits is that it's seedless, and it's a very prolific producer from my experience, and also has a very unique flavor, much like a blueberry. The idea with any grape is that you want to find a location where you have full sun, if possible. You want to understand that grapes are climbers. They like to climb. And so if you're doing it, if you're doing it in an installation where you want to actually have an orchard, or you want to have a vineyard in your backyard, the installation is going to be different. It's going to be more post and wire, where you're going to have to actually lay out posts in string wires at 3 foot off the ground, then 5 foot off the ground to train them on. In this case today, we're going to be training the grape up a post underneath the deck of my home, because my push here on the property is to be able to incorporate both landscape and edibles, which I'm a very strong proponent of. I think people can benefit. I think households can benefit from growing their own food right on the property. So Charles, as you know, for years I've been doing that here. I've got the oranges behind us here that are beautiful and very flavorful, and this is going to be a new addition to the property, and I'm looking forward to it. There's many different grapes out there. There are white grapes, there's red grapes like the flame grape. The Concord grape, this blueberry grape has been proven here in Southern California, and so we're going to take this here, we're going to put it on the post, and a year or two down the line, hopefully right above us here, this should be covered with grapes that we can just reach and pull down.
Yeah, I'm super excited about getting this grape on your property, and from the research I've done, these are very prolific growers, very vigorous growers, and they can push anywhere from 15 to 25 feet of growth per year, making an excellent privacy fence if that's something you're looking for as well. And in addition to, within about 2 to 3 years, there's some testimonials that are saying that this grape can support as much as 200 pounds of fruit per year. So starting April 1st and while supplies last, Ivory Organics, if you go to ivoryorganics.com, you can get your hands on these grapes. They're for sale and they include the premium blend 11-ounce bag fertilizers, and it comes from our expired lot. The NPK, MGSCA, which are all 6 macronutrients, which we pride ourselves on, that the Ivory Organic brand all-purpose fertilizers, both super and premium blend, both have. But the premium blend fertilizer, again, from our expired lot, will be included with it. The only difference really is that it doesn't have the armory seal that we've since acquired since 2021. So you'll notice the armory seal on the newer labels. This one won't have that. So we're including a free bag of the premium 11-ounce bag of fertilizer with every purchase of the blueberry grapevine. You can also get your hands for free on this blueberry grapevine with every purchase of the yellow trio gift box. And so with the purchase of every one of those, you'll get a grapevine. In addition to, you'll get from our expired lot a super blend 11-ounce bag of fertilizer. Again, the difference being that it doesn't have the armory logo on there, but it does contain all of the NPK, which are your nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, as well as magnesium, sulfur, and calcium. These are elements that the soil should have in abundance. Those are the plant macronutrients, and you can ensure the plant will be at its optimal growth and performance and flowering and fruiting, again, to its maximum growing potential by making sure that your plants have all of those nutrients in the soil. The Super Blend also has the plus azomite in it. The azomite just offers the soil additional micronutrients, the nutrients the soil needs in less abundance, but again, important for optimal plant health and performance. For all the details, go to ivorganics.com. That link to the website will be in the video description below.
Thank you. And as far as grapes go, it's important, like I said before, it's important that you choose a sunny location. You want full or mostly full day sun for the grapes. This particular grape ripens best when it's in a hot, sunny location and it has warm soil. Like a lot of, there's fruiting grapes and there's wine grapes as well. But today we're talking about a fruiting grape, but same concept. Again, some of the grapes have different needs based upon, some of them grow best in a hot, sunny, gravelly location, like some of the wine grapes, the red wine grapes. This grape also likes a nice, hot, sunny location to develop the flavor, which generally we're looking September, October as far as harvest time here in Southern California. Additionally, it's important to remember the needs of the grape. Grape, generally, you should understand your garden soil as far as the texture, the constitution, also your pH, because as most of you out there know, a plant really benefits in a certain, each plant has its own range that it benefits in. Grapes, this particular grape likes to be in the 5 to 7 on the pH scale, a little more acidic, and so it's hopefully that's the soil that you're starting with. If not, there's ways that you can amend your soil and change the pH slightly. These grapes like to have a well-drained soil as well. When planting these grapes, it's not necessarily so important like with some trees that you plant the crown above the soil level. It's okay if they're planted a little deeper, because they do have roots that will actually grow off the base here, off the trunk. So we do have a location here which is perfect. We're going to talk about it in a moment. So let's get to planting, Charles.
I got one quick question before we plant is, again, there's fruit here on the grape, and again, what's the cost to the grower that decides to keep the fruit and want to enjoy fruit in the same year that they're putting their grapes in the ground?
Right now, Charles, we want to focus all that energy on the upward growth of the plant so that we can get 1 and 2 year canes on there so we can start producing fruit. So I would say my recommendation is to go ahead and take these flowers off right here. We'll go ahead and cut those off so we can focus on the growth.
What's the cost to the plant's performance to allow it to go into fruit in the same year? Like, how much am I going to lose, you think, just on average in regards to growth and maybe root development if we allow the plant to fruit in the first year?
I don't have a firm number for you, Charles, but it is going to take, it's definitely going to take away from the vitality of the upward growth of the plant. So I would say, unless you really have to have grapes the first year, or maybe you do, I would say let's go ahead and push and then expect grapes in the years to follow.
I agree. And again, just to reiterate again, by allowing the grapes to fruit in the first year, it's truly going to cost you in that second and third year in regards to production as well. So if you're going to have 1 or 2 grape clusters in the first year, you're only going to have maybe a few more in the second year instead of having like 40 or 50 clusters, because again, the plant is, if you allowed it to just focus on root development and growth, it would just be that much more vigorous and can sustain and support that much more in year 2. So again, just another reason to remove the fruit.
Agreed.
So I'll give you the honors if you want to pinch that off.
Okay, so we have pinched off the flower here. And that's, again, as we spoke about, this is going to just give much more vitality to the grapevine itself.
That's great. Thanks, Brad. Well, let's get to planting.
Sounds good.
So, Brad, what's the first step towards getting our grapevine in the ground?
Well, we want to dig a hole. So that's the best place to start. You know, depending upon whether you're using bare root and, you know, in the early spring, or in a case like this, we have these pots, these deep pots. We're going to dig the hole maybe slightly different. The whole idea behind with when you're planting, and in most cases, is that it's more important to dig the hole a bit wider than deeper than the root ball, because there's going to be a lot of lateral growth, and that's where the plant starts off with. And in this location that we're choosing, it's going to be different than in many of your locations, because the soil in this planter is already pretty heavily amended. But what I recommend is, usually when you're digging the planting pit out, when you put amendment in, such as maybe just a regular planting mix, or if you're using compost, I would go 30% of a compost or a planting mix, and then 70% of the native soil, so that the roots get used to it. So this is the location that we're planting. It does get mostly full sun here. So what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and dig a hole at least as deep here as this pot, and then we'll dig it out probably maybe 3 times as much, and we'll amend that soil.
So for those viewing this pot, it's a 4-inch wide by 4-inch top by about 10 inches deep. So we're looking at going about 10 to maybe 12 tops in regards to depth.
Okay.
Well, let's do it.
That sounds good. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, and we've dug the planting pit out at the proper level for the pot here. We're going to go ahead and put in approximately 30% of this. It's called Harvest Supreme. It could be any high-grade planting mix, or if you have a compost that you're very certain of that has been thoroughly aged, that's okay too. So I'm going to put in approximately 30% here. It's not an actual science, but this is, I'm just sort of measuring it out with my hands. What I'm going to do when I'm done here is I'm going to go ahead and put in some of this IV Organic all-purpose organic fertilizer. I've used this around the property here. I use it on my fruit trees, and it's very effective. The one thing about organic fertilizer, which is really important, is that you can put it right in the planting pit, right when you're putting plants in for the first time. There's very little stress, and because it's a slow release type fertilizer, and it's the safest type of fertilizer to put in the planting pit with the plant versus synthetics. So aside from being natural and promoting soil biology, it also at the same time, it's a very safe way to go ahead and put a plant in the ground. So I'll probably put in maybe 3 or 4 teaspoons or these spoons in with the mix, and then I'm going to mix it all together. This is what's going to go in the planting pit, which will provide nutrients immediately to this grapevine that we're going to be putting in to ensure healthy growth, and it'll be, like I mentioned, it is slow release, so it will sustain it for a while.
So if I can share with those that are watching, the depth of the hole, if I put the container in here, it is about 1 inch, maybe 2, but closer to about 1 inch deeper than the container. And the other thing I'm hoping you can share is all of these grapes have this like coconut core pad mat on the very top. Can you explain what this is and whether or not this is going in the planting hole too?
It's also an organic, basically a non-living organic material. I'm actually going to go ahead and take it off. It was put in there so that the root ball could retain moisture and also to keep weeds off the top of the root ball.
That makes sense. So that mat's going to come off. You're going to create your own, obviously, I'm assuming, compost or mulch that's going to be going on the top.
Yes, there's going to be mulch that's going to go on the top of that, and we'll go through that later. Right now, I'm going to put this. I'm actually going to go ahead and compost this.
Makes sense.
So what we'll do is we'll put a little bit of the soil at the very bottom. Not too much, but a little bit of the soil. And again, as we do this, we're going to go ahead, when we get to a certain level, we'll go ahead and water this in. Okay? So the first thing you want to do is very gently kind of knock on the sides. If you take a look at the very bottom here, there's an opening here where you can actually put your fingers in and push it. And so and by doing that, we can slide out the root ball very nicely. Okay? Now what we want to do is that the nice thing about this is it's not overly rooted, but it is rooted enough to hold together. So you can use a knife, you can score it. I'm going to use my fingers right now just to kind of loosen the roots up, because we want the roots to start to venture out into the planting pit so that the plant can get started moving very quickly. So that's what we're doing right now. We're just roughing up the root ball a little bit. Again, just to promote new root growth. And Charles, with this IV organic fertilizer, does it promote root growth? And what is in here that would help this plant out when we're putting it into the ground as a pre-plant fertilizer?
Great question, Brad. Thanks for asking. So again, the product has all the macronutrients plants need. Plants need, again, 6 macronutrients, nutrients in abundance that help the plants grow. The 333 that you see here on the top stands for nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. The N for nitrogen is going to help with the growth and greening of the plant. The phosphorus is going to help with the flowering and fruiting of the plant. And then the potassium is going to help with disease resistance, root development, and strength. But if you take a look over here, it contains all the primary nutrients, the NPK, but also includes secondary nutrients. Calcium is going to be in the cell walls of all the plants. Magnesium is the heart of the chlorophyll molecule. Sulfur is also important for metabolic processes and help with the greening of the plant. So again, all of this is going to help the plant grow and sustain and maintain a healthy, long, important life here on your homestead property.
Excellent. So we're going to go ahead now and take the soil mixture and go ahead and start to fill in around the root ball. I've trained this. Many of you folks will go ahead and put this on post and wire. I'm training this and leaning this bamboo stake directly against the post here, because I'm going to go ahead and train that vine up here. And hopefully in the next video, I'll show you how with the use of the correct soil and the correct watering, that this vine has taken off and is well on its way to fruit production. So we'll go ahead and start filling it in, and then I'm going to water in a little bit. But in this case, I'm not going to use a shovel. We don't need one. I'm just using my hands, and we're going to go ahead and fill all the way around here. In just a moment, I'm going to grab a hose, and we'll just start watering. I'm going to go ahead and compact a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and put some water on it right now. It's important that we get water saturation all the way to the bottom of the root ball and into the soil mixture. And if you're doing it after you've filled the hole entirely, you may not get the water percolation all the way down to the bottom, so that you can start the plant off correctly. So we're doing this. We also want the soil to actually settle, the air pockets to go out of the root ball. So it's a twofold process.
That's a great method.
So we'll do this for a few minutes, and then we're going to go ahead and put the rest let it percolate down. We'll go ahead and put the rest of the soil in.
And then you're going to water again.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And then we'll put mulch over the top of it.
Looking forward.
All right. So at this point in time, the water is actually percolated very nicely through the soil here, and we can go ahead and fill up the second half of the planting pit, and we'll water that in as well. So this is here we are for the second half of it.
We'll go ahead and spread the soil around and tamp it down lightly as we do this. We don't want it to be too compact, but we do want to get the air pockets out. We do want it to be a nice even distribution. Now, depending upon how you actually water your plants, once they're planted, you're going to make it, in most cases, I recommend putting a berm and a well around the base of the plant so that the water is held up there real close to the root ball, and so that the water actually is directed down through the root ball. Because when when you first start off with a container, a containerized plant, or even a bare root plant, you need that water to go right through the root ball. Many times, because the root ball is pretty tight, it'll resist water penetration, and the water will go down the sides, and the plant many times can fail. We don't want that to happen, so we're going to go ahead and put a berm around here, and we'll put another application of water. Now again, it depends on what part of the country that you're from and where you're planting. In California here, we use a lot of drip irrigation, just simply because water is a valuable scarcity at this point in time. And so this is, I will be putting drip irrigation on the grapes. Actually, I'm going to remove these Beaumontia vines and put grapes in also, because, like I said before, we want to live off the land.
That's great.
So this is, now you can see that the well's filling up pretty slowly. We're going to go ahead and do a kind of a slow fill on this. Let it percolate through so that the plant has a good start, so the grape has a good start. And then we're going to apply mulch over the top of it. Whenever you put a new plant in the ground, it does go through transplant shock. If you're pulling it out of a container and you're ruffling the roots, or if you're taking a bare root plant, you do want to be able to help the plant along by treating for transplant shock and also giving it a boost. There's many products out there on the market. A lot of people like to use B1 or B12. Some people like to use Super Thrive. The studies that I've read, the college studies that I've read, is that when a plant is first put in the ground, that it always likes to have a little bit of nitrogen to be able to help stimulate root growth. There's also root hormones out there, such as IBA, indole-3-butyric acid, which also stimulates root growth. That's really, we're not talking about that so much today. In this particular plant, we'll probably put a little bit of Super Thrive in there to help. There's hormones in the Super Thrive. There's also nitrogen in there. I'm not promoting it. I've used it over the years, and as well as B1 and other products. So but we do want to get it off to a good start. So what I'll do is I'll mix up a little bit of B1 with the Super Thrive with water, and we'll give it a little bit of dose after the plant has been fully watered. At this point in time, we've thoroughly watered the grape in the planting pit. So we're just going to put a couple drops of Super Thrive. And again, it could be Super Thrive or any type of pre-plant solution, B1. I'm just going to put a couple drops in here. This is a 2-gallon watering pail. And so we'll go ahead and we'll fill that up, and we'll go ahead, and since the plant has been thoroughly watered now, and you could probably be best to wait maybe half a day before you do this, but we're going to do this right now because we want to put mulch on top. And again, the great thing about some of these solutions is not only do they have a little nitrogen, but they also have a hormone which encourages root growth, so that your plant will get off to a better start. All right, so at this point in time, we're going to go ahead and put mulch on top of the planting pit. There's many advantages to mulch. There's very few plants that don't benefit from mulch, but the primary benefits are, number one, moisture retention, especially here in Southern California. It keeps the root ball, keeps the moisture in the root ball for a much longer period of time, so that the plant doesn't dry out and you don't spend so much money on water. The second is weed prevention, by basically putting a layer of mulch over the top of the planting pit or the planting area. What you're doing is you're effectively putting a screen which prevents light down where any of these, if any weed seeds get started, they die before they get through the top of the layer. Third, and probably a very, very important reason, is that mulch actually has excellent properties as it breaks down that will help sustain and fertilize the plant.
and it's been proven that many plants actually benefit from mulch because the breakdown, there's elements in there. There's the NPK that in very small amounts that will feed the plant. It also encourages helpful bacterial action. These bacteria are in the soil, and they're kind of like Pac-Man. They eat up the pathogens in there, the fungi that are harmful to plants. So you're actually giving, by putting the compost on there, you're feeding the plant, and at the same time you're giving it almost like a preventative or preemptive health care where it helps the plant prevent against diseases that are in the soil. So we're going to go ahead, and there's different kinds of mulches. We're going to go ahead for aesthetics here. I'm going to go ahead and use a bark mulch. So it's a little rougher, it's a little more attractive, but you can also use a kind of like a heavy compost if you want, that has been fully composted, that doesn't have that has a nice appearance as well. So we're going to go ahead. I'll go ahead and put it around the base here. We're just going to dump it out, and this is going to go over the top of it. What I'm going to do is eventually, this is just for more demonstration purposes right now, I'm eventually going to go ahead and put wood mulch over the entire area here once I get it planted again. Just so that you can see it's attractive, it's going to help the plant out in so many ways.
So that mulch that you just added, Brad, is pretty analogous to this coconut core pad that was on the top of this container and that the grapes were shipped with. So again, the benefits being it's helping to retain moisture, it's helping to suppress weeds, it's got some of those benefits, but you're pretty much bringing that now into the ultimate planting hole here on your property. So the next thing I'm going to do is now whitewash the grape with the Ivory Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard protection against damaging summer sunburn, insects, and rodents, for use on your roses, fruit, nut trees, ornamental trees, and shrubs, and for use in organic production, healthier than latex and tar-based products. Aside from being OMRI certified for organic gardening, it also is dries on porous compared to latex and tar-based products. So it allows nutrients to pass through, as well as if you're doing any foliar feeding, if you're going to do a total plant spray. But what I'm simply going to do now is just brush the product onto the primary branches. I always discuss and teach, protecting the heart of the tree. So we're going to protect the tree trunk and the lower branches. So that in the event that there's any sunburn damage, whether it be summer sunburn or in the winter sun scald, it'll protect those primary branches, so they'll continuously push out shoots and branches. So Brad, what have you used the Ivory Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard on your property to protect?
Well, actually, I have an example behind me here, but I would compare the Ivory Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard analogous to almost in the summertime when you go out and you put suntan lotion on.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many harmful effects that the sun can have, especially some of these trees would be people that have like bare skin. Their skin burns easier. That's the case with behind us here is an avocado tree. That avocado tree almost died. We had one summer when the temperatures were up close to 120 degrees. I actually went in there and painted, I used IV 3-in-1 Plant Guard and painted the trunks because the avocados were very susceptible. And so it actually saved them. And I didn't lose one avocado along one, and you can see it's out there, it's beautiful right now. It's in full bloom. I had a nice crop of avocados last year, and I plan to have some more this year.
That's fantastic.
That's a prime example. Some of the other examples I've used are some of the plants that may not work so well in the sun, but in the heat. And so what I do is I actually dilute the 3-in-1 Plant Guard and actually spray it on as a diluted mixture, which reduces really the heat stress on some of these plants, but it doesn't paint the leaves totally white.
Yeah.
So it can be used. It's versatile. So it can be used that way. As you can put it directly on the trunk itself, in its full concentration, or you can dilute it and spray it on the leaves and reduce the stress on some plants that are a little more tender. Like some of these, like for example, some of these Dracaenas out here, I'll be spraying on the 3-in-1, as it gets hotter here out in the summertime.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing all those helpful tips. And I'm hoping on the camera you can catch that behind the row of citrus, is the avocado tree that he was explaining. The product actually saved the avocado's life, and you're now harvesting fruit off of it as well.
Yes,
That's wonderful.
that's true.
Thank you so very much, Brad, for that awesome demonstration of planting our Dave Wilson Nursery blueberry grapes. What an awesome addition to your property, and I can't wait to bring mine onto mine. And this is a chance for you to actually introduce these grapes onto your property as well. Before we conclude, and at the very end, I'm going to give you about a 30-second tour of this magnificent Moroccan Garden of Eden where he's growing, I think, upwards of 100 fruit trees. Are there other things you want to share in regards to some of your prized plants you've got growing here with our audience?
Well, we have a mix of fruit trees on the property. Behind us here we have citrus. I've got kumquats in the pots over there that are sweet and juicy. We've got this line of orange trees and tangerines and lemons. We've started, thanks to you, Charles, I've actually got a row of bananas, and this last year I had my first bunch of bananas that came off.
That's awesome.
So that's great. We, for the first time, we've got we've got a Pinkerton avocado now. It's got a lot of fruit on it. Pomegranates. I've got some mangoes and guavas on the property, as well as all your, we're doing. We've got an area down on the back of the property. I'll share with you at another time. We're taking an old tennis court. We're going to actually put fruit trees and planting beds in there, so we'll have apricots and peaches and plums, and already have the plants out there ready to plant, and strawberries. So like I said, it's something that we really enjoy doing here, and we really enjoy eating the fruit right off our property. It's a lot of fun.
It's truly wonderful, and just even the sense being here, I know you can't smell it, but it's just so wonderful and so beautiful. And thank you so much for having us as a guest. And for those of you watching, if you want to write below in the comments and share what more you would like to see in regards to a collaboration with Brad Fickes, feel free to write us down below this video description on what you'd like to see more of, and I'll do my best to hopefully deliver those lessons to you later on this year. If you've enjoyed this lesson brought to you by Ivory Organics, be sure to give us that thumbs up, and most importantly, share us with your gardening friends and family. And as always, keep growing with Ivory Organics, and wishing you all happy gardening.